Hey, Heather, nice to see you again.
So good to see you, Mike. How are you?
Good. It has been a long time since I saw your smiling face on a live stream.
Yeah, we kind of had some trouble on the last one. Sorry about that, everyone.
Yeah, that last one, frankly, was an abject
Oh,
disaster. I hated it.
that was
Probably going to
that was
delete it on
horrible.
YouTube. I
Well, we
apologize to the audience for not only being 20 minutes late, but the rest of it was, I was
oh,
just very frazzled and
it
not on
just
my best game.
nah, it wasn't a good day for anyone. How are you doing? What's new with you?
Pretty good. Health is good. I am in between various, summer trips right now, and can't complain.
That is so cool. And we were going to talk about something, and I can't remember what it was. So I love it when that happens on a live stream.
So, well, before we went live, I mentioned that Burning Man is coming up.
Burning Man, that's what it was. I'm sorry.
That's okay. So, you were supposed to ask me if I'm going to Burning Man this year, to which I would say, unfortunately, not. I would love to go back. I really feel called to go back, and I haven't been since 2018. But alas, the I was not successful in the ticket lottery, and
Mm.
about so. And while I was out of town last week, somebody approached me on Facebook and said they had a ticket, but I wasn't
Ooh.
checking in on Facebook during this time. So I get back and I check it and I say, "Yes, I want it. I want it." And then that person who offered it was out backpacking in the Sierras. And by the time he got back, it's kind of a long story, but the person who has this ticket is now being wishy washy about to go or to not go. So I am in limbo right now whether or not I will be at Burning Man.
So if anyone has an extra ticket and you want to sell it to Mike,
Absolutely. I would love to buy a Burning Man ticket if anybody has one. And I mentioned this on Facebook this morning that I would like to buy a ticket, and suddenly, like 10 people said, "Oh, I've got two, I've got four, I'll sell you one." And I'm quite sure that all these people were scammers. So I am going to do my due diligence just to warn you um, about any alleged tickets. But yeah, if anyone does have one, please let me know in the comments.
so if they want to get in contact with you, just put a comment down and then you'll read it and
Yeah,
you'll
or
get
better
in
yet, reach me
contact with them.
some other way, like at Wizard of Vegas, and
Cool.
I'll take it from there.
Sounds good. So while we are here, welcome everyone. Good to see everyone. We are just waiting a couple seconds to get everybody in. I'm so jealous that you could do that. While we are waiting, please get your questions in. If you have any questions for Mike, perfect time to ask at the start of the show because we will get through it. If it's later on in the show, we might not get to your question. And Mike, do we have any trivia today?
We do. So I was going to do this
Sweet.
last time in celebration of Pioneer Day.
What's Pioneer Day?
I thought you might ask. Pioneer Day is the day that people of the LDS faith celebrate the arrival of Brigham Young to the Great Salt Lake.
Okay, so LDS, LSD, LSD, the
LDS,
LSD
that
group.
stands for Latter-day Saints.
Oh, I was wrong.
Um, it's the more polite way to refer to people of that religion. Mormon being not, not sounding as good. But because of last week, there were just so many technical issues and things like that. I didn't get to that. But this week we are. So let's get started with a question, and then we will go to a peanut gallery question for me. So the question is, what did Joseph Smith use to translate the golden plates? And I will accept either English or Hebrew for the answer.
Okay, so if you guys know the answer to that question, put it in the chat. And while we are waiting for your answer, we are going to our first casino question of the day, which was from TSW. And TSW says, Do casinos care if a couple use the same player's card? And will the couple get better offers compared to each using their own card?
Casinos do care about this. They're, if it's just recreational players, I don't think they would know or care about it. But they definitely don't like it when a professional gambler goes in there with a whole stack of player cards and just runs a little bit of play on each one for purposes of getting good mail. It is always against their terms and conditions. And I have known plenty of cases where players have been kicked out for this, and even cases where players have been backroomed for this, which I would argue is illegal, but nevertheless, it has been known to happen. Okay, so I think that a couple is better off playing on two separate cards rather than twice the play on one card. But a reason players tend to, how shall I put this? It does happen that, let's say both husband and wife do play together and then they leave town and then only one of them comes back. It's quite a common thing that they both get offers and the person of the couple might do the free play on both accounts. If that happens in moderation, again, it's against casino rules, but if it's not done a lot, they probably would never know.
Yeah, and just to follow up on that, if you're at a, excuse me, sorry, if you're at a casino and you're at like a $5 game, and you're like, hey, my wife forgot her card, can we put it on my card? If you ask nicely, the floor supervisor would probably do you a favor and put it on both of your cards, as long as it's not over a certain amount of money.
Yeah, I agree. And everything that I just said was more about machine players.
Okay, so let's see if we have any answers to that trivia question. Excuse me. So, do you see any answers? Is it a seer stone?
No, it is not a seer stone, but that's a good guess. The answer I'm looking for in English is called the Nephite interpreters, and in Hebrew it's called the Urim and Thummim. So there you go. Joseph Smith used these to look at the golden plates, which he placed in a hat, and that's what allowed the original language to appear to him, as the story goes, in English.
And was it a black top hat with a wand and a rabbit coming out of it?
Only the black top hat part is true, at least according to pictures that I've seen depicting this incident. So, but on a related question, what language do they say the golden plates were written in?
Okay, so if you guys know the answer to that, put it in the chat. And our next casino question comes from, let's see, looks like Technics. You and I know that side bets at the blackjack table are sucker bets, but the majority of players at my casino make this bet. Please explain to your viewers why this is such a bad bet and how to save money.
It's really quite simple that the house advantage on side bets is about 10% on average, but it can range anywhere from about 7 to 20. And they're just simply a bad value. The house advantage in blackjack for typical rules would be about 0.5%. And the side bet is going to be a house advantage of like 10%. That is a 20 times worse value. It's just mathematical. But I would just let these other players throw their money away. That's their business. And I am never one to give unsolicited advice in the casino.
Okay. So let us see if we have any answers to that trivia question. Is it a kind of Egyptian?
Okay, I'll give you half credit there. It is known as Reformed Egyptian.
Okay, cool.
Okay, next question is how many total people saw the golden plates? It wasn't just Joseph Smith, but the angel Moroni asked him to show them to a certain number of other people to be witnesses. So, how many total people saw them?
So if you guys know the answer to that, put it in the chat. And our next casino question comes from This isn't a question, but Yes Note says, I hear that you finally finished your game of mountain climbing 52 pickup. Cool. You want to tell us a little about it?
Did. Thank you so much for noticing. In fact, let me show you. I think that they're in here. Yes. So absolutely. On July 2nd, I completed my deck.
That is cool.
So here is the full deck right here. Sorry for the glare. And when you finish your deck, they also give you a joker and a plaque. And let me show you the plaque too. Right here.
Wow, that's a nice looking plaque.
Yeah, so I was really quite proud of that accomplishment. So thank you for bringing it up. And I'm already starting to work on a second deck. In fact,
wow.
I'm already 5 cards into a second deck. And doing number 6 on Sunday.
That is so cool. So you could just get as many decks as you want. You just keep getting.
Yeah, the record is 5.
Wow. Is this a Guinness World Record? Are you trying to beat something on the books?
The Guinness book is not going to recognize something as local as this.
They recognize everything. They should.
Well, I mean, then I would submit to them something really bizarre. Like I thought it was bizarre, like how many Rubik's Cubes can you solve on a unicycle without getting off? But no, there's already a record for that. And it's a ridiculously high record, like gosh, it's like 200 of them.
Oh my gosh.
I mean, I think that I could stay on a unicycle I think I could probably do about 20.
Yeah.
But yeah, and you can submit to them anything, but it doesn't mean they'll take it. And if it's something that's just really obscure, they're probably going to say no.
You would think that, solving a Rubik's Cube on a unicycle is obscure.
That's not that obscure, but if I were to submit something like solving some other kind of cube puzzle, like the Mega Minx on a unicycle, they would probably say, not enough people know what a Mega Minx is to.
What about a number of board games you could play while on a unicycle?
Then it would get into like what counts as a board game.
Sorry.
By the way,
a good one.
I went to the Mensa convention in
fun.
June, and they had an enormous room full of board games. I mean, it was like board game heaven.
Oh, that sounds like so much fun.
Yeah, it was an enormous room that probably could have easily sit 100 people, and just tons of tables. And all along the perimeter of the room were more tables stacked with board games.
That's awesome. We have a trivia question for you from a viewer. Why was the Guinness Book of Records started?
That is a good trivia question. And the reason is that the Guinness, how shall I put this? It goes to the Guinness beer. And I think that there was a pub somewhere in England or Ireland that was either called Guinness or mainly served Guinness beer. And they just kept a book of records that probably was just stuff that could be done within the bar, like darts and things. But it became such a thing that it became the Guinness book that we all know today. But there's definitely that connection between Guinness beer and the Guinness Book of Records. And it's something like that. I may not have the details exactly right.
That is so interesting. I wonder if the first insert or world record was how many beers you could drink without passing out.
Maybe. If you drink them fast enough, like before they hit you, you can drink quite a bit of beer, as you often see people in college doing with beer bongs.
Is that why they have the chant, drink, 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 drink?
Yeah, not that I approve of abusing alcohol, though.
Oh, of course, of course.
Right. So, did anyone know the number of people who saw the golden plates?
We have 2 people that say 2 and 1 person that says 3.
Nope, I'm afraid the total number is 12, including Joseph Smith.
That's a lot of people.
Yep.
Okay.
Okay. So the next question is, what are the 3 degrees of heaven? So Latter-day Saints believe that there's not just one heaven, but 3 of them. And the one that you go to, how you live your life determines which one you go to. There's like the best one, the medium one, and the not so great one.
Okay, so if you guys know the answer to that, put that in the chat. As we go on to our next question, I see this comment real quick. Jim's like, Heather is so religious. Yes, I am an atheist. I do not believe in religion. Our next question is, here's a good one. From Pancakes. Do you think it's possible to create a program to predict sports outcomes to help decide what team to pick and how much to bet?
Well, people have made plenty of programs to help do this. Nothing is going to be anywhere close to 100% accurate, but some very smart people write programs that take into consideration a lot of data and to determine the probability of any given team winning or winning by so many points. It might do it by random simulation, but trust me, there are lots of programs out there. They're not for sale, as far as I know. But yeah, even I have some programs that I've written to analyze, not so much games themselves, but proposition bets. But that's about as far as I can take that one.
How complicated is it to write something like that just for yourself?
Oh, it's really complicated. It's just thousands of lines of code, and you have to make determinations on how important, each little bit of data is worth. To make a simplified model, look at like horse racing. There's only so many variables in horse racing, like the position of the horse and its past track record and the jockey and blah blah blah. So there's only there's less stuff to put into the end to the program, but how you weight that information is up to the programmer, and it's definitely a difficult thing to do.
Okay, want to do one more question?
Yes.
So real quick, what is Burning Man?
Okay, it's hard to describe briefly.
Lightning speed.
I'm not going to call it a festival. I will call it an event that happens in the middle of a dry lake bed in northern Nevada, like 200 miles from Reno and quite far from any civilization. And the organizers sell tickets to it. And there's very strict rules about leaving no trace, and there's no place to put trash, and it's a cashless society. They do provide outhouses, but people go there with a big emphasis on these art installations and art cars and music and stuff like this. So it's kind of like an art gathering where all these artists show these enormous constructions that they make just for Burning Man and then take them down. And there's it's really fantastic at night with all these LED lights. And I already mentioned that it's a cashless society. Everything is free. It doesn't mean you can take somebody's bike if it's not locked, but nobody is like charging for anything. You can leave your money at home, except you can buy ice. That's the one exception. And some people might say you can buy coffee too, but they changed that rule. So I went to Burning Man in 2018 and I just loved it.
And you could see some of the art sculptures in some cities. For example, in Las Vegas, there's a few Burning Man sculptures in city that you can go and see.
Absolutely. And for example, in Vegas, that I guess it's a praying mantis is outside
Mhm.
Container Park that shoots fire. I understand that was from Burning Man, and there's outside the park MGM Arena. There's like a big statue of a woman that's from
Yeah.
Burning Man, and Reno has even more. Um, and
Also down
hmm?
Also downtown is that Mack trucks in the shape of an S, two Mack trucks in the shape of an S.
Oh, I didn't notice that the last time I was downtown.
Hmm.
But yeah, Burning Man, it's the kind of thing that you either love or hate. So I'm eager to go back. So
And you've
that
been there how many times?
once.
Oh, just once?
Hmm.
For some reason, I thought you went more than once.
Yeah, for all I talk about it, you would think so. But 2019, shall we say, Mrs. Wizard didn't want me to go, and then it was canceled
Mhm.
the 2 years after that for obvious reasons.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, so answer to your trivia. Were we going for Ireland? What were we doing?
It was the
Oh,
three
7 levels of.
three levels of heaven.
Okay. Nobody that I can see got that one.
Okay, well, the answer there is celestial, terrestrial, and telestial.
Terrestrial is in aliens?
Terrestrial is more of a meaning like the earth, like something that is physical in nature. Um, um,
So
and
terrestrial is in Terra,
yeah,
meaning Earth. Okay.
so celestial, terrestrial, and telestial. Those are the three levels. Okay, let's go on to another one.
Oh, wait, before we go on to the other one. So what is each one? So each one is like which one's the good one, which one's the bad one?
One is celestial, and the worst one is telestial.
Gotcha. Okay.
There you
I,
go.
I have to learn this religious stuff somehow. So
And, I think it's a good thing to understand the basics of all the major religions. So
yeah.
I hope that I'm helping. It's good to know what you don't believe in.
Yeah. Well, also it creates, you can sympathize with them a little bit more.
Hmm. Okay. Well, I personally have never stated my opinion on the matter. I am just about truthful information. So let's move on with the next LDS question, which is, what are the four sacred texts? Hint, one of them is the Book of Mormon, but what are the other three?
Okay. So if you guys know the answer to that, put that in the chat. Our next question comes from Jack, who says, how should I determine how much of a bankroll to bring on a table for, let's say, Mississippi Stud or Ultimate Texas Hold'em?
I've never been really big on questions like that. It depends what your goal is in playing and how long you want to play for. But to just say anything, I would take the, shall we say, the maximum bet, or shall we say the maximum number of units, which in Ultimate Texas Hold'em would be 6, the ante, the blind, and then a 4x raise. Multiply that by, say, the minimum bet, which in UTH these days is usually $15. So now we're up to a $90 bet per hand. And then let's multiply that by just say 20 units. So there I'm getting $1,800 for UTH. So,
Okay.
and
That
maybe that's too much because most of the time you're not going to be making the full 4x raise. But there you go. There's just an approximation. So my rule of thumb is 20 times the maximum amount you could lose per hand.
cool. And then do you want to do another question real quick since that one
Okay.
was a short one? Do you know a way to learn craps like you see in World War II movies or Guys and Dolls?
Well, those are just simplified versions of the craps we have today. I think that I really shouldn't speak on this, but I know that there was an episode of MASH where they played craps, and it looked like they certainly had the pass line, and I think they had the place bets, and but I don't think they had any of the hot bets and stuff like that. But yeah, to be honest, I really don't know. Yeah. Uh,
Okay.
I would just, I would just watch one of these movies and look carefully at what they're doing, but that doesn't mean that the movie is accurate. Um, okay, I have to be careful not to violate an NDA here,
Hmm.
but I was looking carefully at the Pharaoh scene in the movie. What was that movie oh shoot. Um, Maybe was it Tombstone? Let me check real quick. It starred Kurt Russell, and it was a Western. Yeah, it was Tombstone. Okay, so there was a Pharaoh scene in the movie Tombstone, and if you look carefully, it looked like Kurt Russell was actually dealing blackjack because I don't think the actor knew the rules of Pharaoh.
Oops.
So it goes to show to not necessarily believe that any gambling scene in a movie is accurate. In fact, many of them are quite awful.
You would think that they would hire a consultant or something to, make sure they got it right.
Yeah, now I'm really starting to kind of brush against the rules of an NDA I signed.
Okay, so
But in a future live stream, I will be able to give you more details about
ooh,
this Pharaoh scene.
okay.
Okay,
So
let's move away.
answer to the trivia.
Okay. Okay.
Was it Hindi?
I forgot what the question was.
The 3 books.
Well, I'm looking for 3 more books.
Book of Mormon, the Bible Pearl, and the Doctrine of Covenants.
Yes, give John Dezeki a big point. However, the full name, it's not just Pearl, it's called the Pearl of Great Price, which is a reference to the parable of the pearl in the book of Matthew. But there you go. Those are the 4 sacred texts that a missionary might carry around with him or her.
Good job. Okay, so what is the next trivia question?
Okay. Okay, so according to Doctrine and Covenants 109.8 to be particular, how many months supply of food and water and other essentials should someone store up in case of some kind of a catastrophe of some nature?
Okay, so if you know the answer to that, put it in the chat. And our next gambling question comes from Vince, who says, how do you feel about repeater bets on craps?
It's a sucker bet.
Yeah. You want to do another question?
Yeah.
Okay. How about this one from Source Keen? Why are the rules on bubble craps only 2 times odds, which are worse than any regular craps tables, often 5 times odds or better?
Well, some craps tables are also 2x odds, but why they are only 2x? You would have to ask the makers of the games. But I have a feeling that the machine craps games like bubble craps probably don't attract the real serious craps players, which are more likely to complain about a low odds multiple. And they probably say to them, why should we put a bet on this thing that doesn't have a house advantage? And they probably told, well, you just have to. It's intrinsic to the game. Well, let's keep it as small as possible. But yeah, ultimately you'd have to ask them. But that's about as far as I can take that one.
Okay. And before we see if we have any additional answers to your trivia question, I want to point out Vince's comment where he says, friends do not let friends martingale. And I think that's very important. So,
well, to that, I would say that all betting systems, mathematically speaking, are equally worthless. So, if someone told me I'm going to go to the casino and play the martingale, I might warn them that there's a small chance of a catastrophic loss, but if that's how they like to play, then just let them.
It's their money.
Yep.
Okay, so we have a couple answers. Is it 12 months?
Nope. Good guess, though.
3?
Yes, it is 3. Good job to Vince
Yeah.
Armenti. A lot of members of the church double that and go all the way to 6, but 3 is the minimum.
Nice.
Okay, and the next question, true or false? The Bible mentions baptism for the dead.
Okay, so if you guys know the answer to that, put that in the comments. And our next question comes from Mark. And Mark says, what programming language are most slot machines written in?
To be honest, I don't really know. I tend to think that it's not a conventional language. I have designed a lot of slot machines, and then I hear that the next step is to, shall we say, implement this design in a kind of like a slot machine interface. So it may not be a language per se, but more like an interpreter of certain kinds of logic. Yeah, my short answer is I really don't know.
Okay, so let's do another question. Richie says, what is the best place for online live dealer Baccarat?
I really don't have a favorite, to be honest with you. At Wizard of Odds, I do have a whole page on live dealer Baccarat where I show screenshots and make comments about several major providers of live dealer products. I don't recommend any particular one.
Okay, and since that was a short answer, we'll do one quick last question before we see if anyone has any answers to our trivia question. What is the EV formula for short term? And I don't know short term what, but I was hoping you would know.
Well, the expected value of a bet is simply how much you can expect to get back from your bet. And since he mentions short term, let's take a bet like the field bet in craps, and let's say it's the liberal odds where you get 3-1 on a 12. So that has a house advantage of 2.78%, which is 1 in 36. So let's say the player bets $10 on that a throw, and he does that for 100 times. Then his expected loss is $27.78. So I hope that answers the question, but frankly, I'm not sure I understood it.
Okay, so we did 3 good questions. Our answer to the trivia question is, let's see.
Looking for either a true or a false.
And I do not see any. Oh, here we go. Is it true?
The answer is true. Was there?
Woo-hoo.
Yes. John Dezicki is again correct. There it is mentioned in 1 Corinthians 15:29, and I quote, "Now, if there is no resurrection, what will those who are baptized for the Now, if there is no resurrection, what will those do who are baptized for the dead? If the dead are not raised at all, why are people baptized for them?" So there you can see that it is mentioned. So a lot of people think that it's kind of silly, but there it is right there in the New Testament as well.
Okay.
So your next LDS question is, which one shall I do? True or false? Polygamous marriages exist in the Old Testament.
Okay, so if you guys know the answer to that, put that in the chat. Our next question comes from Lance, who says, I'm going to Vegas for 5 nights. How much money should I bring?
Well, and again, it depends what you're going to do those 5 nights. If you're going to be real heavy gambling, if you're going to be dining at fancy restaurants, or if you're going to, shall we say, be on more of an economy tour. But for 5 nights, I would certainly say at least 200 a day and up to 500 a day. So if my math is right, that would be $1,000 to $2,500.
And let's say if someone wants to only gamble for a few hours, could you say like how much money would be good to gamble for? And I know it's, everyone's preference, but let's say a certain amount of money per hour would be good for gambling that will last you about an hour at
Yeah,
the minimum.
you can gamble on a very small budget. For example, playing nickel slots, betting only a nickel, um, betting $1 live Keno,
Yeah.
or betting on horse races at only one track. Um, so you could probably stretch out, say, $20 over at least a couple hours. Um, and
Especially if you play Payout poker.
And there's real cheap places to stay, like hostels, and you can actually stay in hostels for free if you work, like
Oh,
clean the place. So I
that's
would
good to know.
argue it's actually possible to do a Vegas vacation with no money at all, but it's going to be more like a working vacation than a real vacation.
So basically, just sit there, plan out what you want to do, maybe call around, see what the prices are, and then figure out how much to bring from there.
And it used to be that a lot of casinos had really good fun books where you could kind of eat for free, like a hot dog here and a slice of pizza there. But you don't see as many the fun books as much as you used to.
No, I remember that was that the 90s? I don't remember it being in the 2000s.
Yeah. And they went before the 90s as well. But nevertheless, there's still places where you can eat pretty cheap, a lot of cheap prime rib dinners and things like that. Like everything is a really good value at the Ellis Island. So, yeah, bottom line is it's not difficult to have a Vegas vacation on a low budget.
Right, exactly. Okay, go to the answers to the trivia questions.
Yep.
Is it
True or false?
We're looking for a true or false. Okay. Is it true?
It is true.
Yay.
It's the critic, Scott Schaefer. So
Woohoo.
there were lots of them. For example, Lamech, the son of Cain, had 2 wives, and Moses had 2, and Solomon had 700 wives, not to mention 300 concubines.
That is a lot of anniversaries and birthdays and Christmas presents and everything and Valentine's Day gifts to keep track of.
It sure is. So there you go. No, polygamous marriages are all over the Old Testament, and they're never, shall we say, condemned in the New Testament either.
Okay. So what is our next trivia question?
Okay. What is the maximum term for a member of the Mormon Tabernacle Choir?
Okay, so if you guys know the answer to that, put that in our chat. And the next casino question, while we are waiting, is from Keno. And he said, I heard many casino bartenders in Nevada and California say that they are getting rid of 4-card Keno. Is this true? I see a perfected algorithm on 20 cards, and I believe this is the reason.
Well, I've never heard of that, but I don't speak to a lot of bartenders, but I still see 4-card Keno on a lot of machines. I think a lot of players like it, so I would be surprised if casinos were getting rid of it. But I'm sure that your algorithm has nothing to do with it if they are getting rid of them.
Keno has another follow-up question to that. Why do some casinos favor video Keno much more than others? And others having awful pay tables, for example, 20 cards, 7 spot, which pays only 2,500.
Well, casinos like to give players the games that they like. And I tend to think that locals tend to prefer Keno more than tourists. And I tend to think that low limit players tend to like Keno more than high limit players. So, but yeah, it's all supply and demand. And, I would say that if you like Keno, either go to a low, get away from the strip and go to any of the locals casinos, and you'll see lots of it.
Definitely. Do you want one more question, or do you want to see if people are answering the trivias?
One more question.
Okay. So Mert, I think it's Mert. Mert says, I love your free video poker strategy games. How do they compare with ones on the website that require a paid subscription?
Well, thank you. I would say that mine are just as good. I haven't seen, and what I think you're referring to is my video poker strategy maker, where you can put in any game in Paytable, and it will generate a strategy for that game. And I am not aware of anything that is better than what I have. I get compliments on it from Bob Dancer, who is the king of video poker strategy. So, but I really don't, want to go too far with this because I haven't seen for myself what any competitors are doing, but I haven't heard of anything better.
Okay. And then real quick, this is more of a comment talking about how much to bring, that question on how much to bring. Big Daddy says that he usually brings about 5,000 on a trip like that and mostly plays blackjack at $25 a hand.
So let's see. So that is 200 units. So that is 200 is a lot of units. So
okay.
There's a very, very low risk of busting out with that much money.
So real quick, let's say 200 units, or if you think it's less than that, pick a number, multiplied by the minimum, which you would see, what, $5, $10 now? Probably $10 nowadays.
I think what I said before is take the maximum bet that you per round, and then multiply that by the number of hands that you might, and then multiply that by 20. So now in the case of blackjack, that's a fast game, so I might go more than 20 on that one. Yeah, I feel that I covered that one already.
Because with blackjack, it's about 400. Okay, so answers to trivia questions. Is it max term 20, age 60?
Yes. The maximum term is 20 years. However, there's another condition where if you reach a certain age, you must leave. And what is that maximum age?
Wouldn't it be age 60 or?
It is 60. Very good, Heather.
Ooh. Oh, I didn't do it. Vince did it.
Oh.
I cannot take credit for knowing that.
Okay. Pause there for a second. Yes, it is whichever happens first, 20 years on the choir or reaching the age of 60.
Okay, sounds good. And then what is our next trivia question?
Okay. How about this one? Who is the current president of the LDS Church?
They have presidents? Do
Yes,
they have vice presidents?
I don't think they have a vice. I don't think it's called a vice president, but underneath the president, there is I believe it's called the Quorum of Apostles, which are 12 people. And I do think that there is a highest of the 12. So in case anything happens to the president, the highest of the 12 would assume his place. But I also know that when Joseph Smith was murdered, there was some disagreement within the church about who should take his place. And it ended up being Brigham Young. But I don't think that was an automatic kind of thing.
How was he murdered?
I believe it was in Kirkland, Ohio, or Nauvoo, Illinois, and these communities did not like being taken over by all these Mormons, and they drove them out of town, and they did it in a violent fashion in some cases. But
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
he was murdered by an angry mob, as I understand it.
I wonder what he did to make him so mad.
They probably warned him to leave, and he didn't do it.
Okay. So next trivia question.
Okay, I'm starting to. Okay, so I already asked who is the current church president, and I am awaiting.
Oh, that one. I'm sorry, that was my fault. Okay, so real quick, Ed says, "Hey, you skipped my question." Ed, I went through the list about 2 or 3 times. I did not see your question at all, so please do me a favor and re-put it up there, and I'll ask it. Again, if you guys have any questions that you guys want to ask Mike, speak now or forever hold your peace. Our next, that's perfect, right? It's a religious saying, so it's a perfect thing to say. Our next question comes from, here we go, Eddie. Thank you very much. What are the best games and strategies to break even or keep as much as your balance as possible when playing with house money?
Well, it doesn't make any difference whether you're playing with so-called house money or your own money. My whole website, 25 years worth of work, has been devoted to explaining the best strategies to play anything. And the reason that you have the money that you're betting doesn't matter. Once you win money, that is your money. It's no longer house money. And you see people betting foolishly a lot under the excuse that this is just house money. But no, once it's in front of you, it's now your money, as much as any other money that you work to earn. So, yeah. So I don't know what else to say about that one. Just follow the advice on my website.
Okay. And then our next, it's not a question, it's a statement, and I don't even have to reply to it, which is awesome. What is the significance of your farm girl look, if any? I wasn't even thinking that. I just, seriously, no thought behind it at all. Okay.
I like that look.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It was a very comfortable look, and I felt like being comfortable, and I wasn't even thinking farm girl, but now that you say it, I can't stop not seeing it. So.
And I think the braids also fit into that look too.
I was thinking headphones. Okay, I'm not even going to go into it because I will sit here and rant about hair and makeup and clothes, and you guys do not want to hear that. So our next answer. We're doing an answer, right, for the trivia?
Current president of the church.
Okay. Do not see anybody answering that. Do you want to do another question?
Okay. I'm starting to run low on questions here. Okay, here's one. What translation does the LDS Church prefer for the Bible?
So if you guys know the answer to that, put that in the trivia. The question comes from Big Daddy, and he says, a recent GWAE podcast announced James Grosjean will release another top secret book this year, and buyers will be vetted somehow. Any idea on how one might establish the worthiness to purchase a copy?
That's a good question. He had this process before, and with the first book, anyone could buy it. And with the second one, you had to apply to buy it. And he accepted my application, to which I say thank you, James. And I was pleasantly surprised that he did. And I'm going to apply again, and we'll wait to see if he accepts my application. But to answer your question, I think it would be good if you were some kind of a name, like you had other people to vouch for you that you are a successful advantage player. And uh, yeah, I think that he's probably not going to sell one to someone he's never heard of, and he doesn't know of anyone who can vouch for this person. Otherwise he would be afraid that some copies would end up in the hands of casino executives, which is the whole reason he has this vetting process. But how he does it, I don't really know. So the short answer is I don't know.
Okay. Let's see if anybody has an answer to that trivia. Is it the King James version?
It is. It
Ooh.
is indeed the King James the translation of the Bible. And I think that is the last question on the LDS Church that I am going to ask. So,
Okay.
Let's finish the show with just gambling questions.
Sounds good. Again, if you guys have any questions that you want answered, please put them in the chat. Our next question, I think we need a little more clarification for this question, but you tell me. In craps, Hardway bets have a lower number of decisions per hour than some other bets. So while the house edge is bad, the expected loss per hour can be lower than other craps bets. What are your thoughts?
Yeah, that's true. For example, the field bet resolves every single roll, where say a hard 8 bet can take 4 or 5 rolls to resolve on average. So this is important in terms of how much money you can expect to lose, if that's what you're trying to calculate. And it's also pertinent in terms of comps. For example, if you're making a hard way bet, it's, how shall I put this? Because it's going to be on the table for more rolls, you're going to get more comp value out of it than a bet that only stays up there once. But that still doesn't mean that you should bet the hard 8. And on my craps page, I have a whole table showing the house advantage of all the bets, both per roll and per bet resolve, depending upon your reason for wanting to know. So I hope that answers your question.
Very cool. And then our next one is a statement. John wants me to do the librarian look next time. What do you think, Mike?
I like the farm girl look better.
Yeah, you like the farm girl better. Mm-hmm. If I think about it, John, I might try it. I'm horrible at cosplay. You know what? I might be trying it and you don't even know, because that's how bad at cosplay I am. So, okay, so our next one is from Peter. Can you discuss the aggregate clause I see on table games with the progressive jackpots? Often the aggregate payout is less than the jackpot. It's a good point.
Yeah, I really don't like these aggregate jackpots. And it really bugs me when the aggregate win is less than the jackpot. And I think it's frankly unethical. Now, there is some reason for aggregate jackpots, because they, let's say that there's a side bet and the maximum win is 1,000 to 1, and somebody bets $100. So that would put a win at $1,000, $10,000, at $100,000. And let's say this is more than they're comfortable paying. Then I can see a reason to cap it. But for progressive jackpots, in my opinion, that's all player money that the casino is just holding on to, and they are supposed to give it back to players at some point. So my advice to players is to be very cognizant of aggregate payout rules and never make a bet in such an amount where that aggregate jackpot rule might kick into play.
Yeah. And then to add on top of that, if anyone who is watching or listening doesn't know what we're talking about when we say aggregate clause, if you go to, let's say, Payout Poker, you will see, oh, hey, if you get this hand, you'll get paid 1,000 to 1. And if you have $5 on there, that will be a $5,000 payout. Well, if you go to a game, again, like Payout Poker, the aggregate payout would be 25,000. So that means that, let's say if you have $100 on that jackpot and you get that hand, you don't get $100,000. You get the max, which is 25,000, which is the aggregate payout.
Yeah. In my opinion, the casinos shouldn't be allowed to have these at all. And so let's say that they don't want to pay more than $100,000, then they should cap the maximum bet so that it would be impossible to win more than $100,000.
Yeah. Did you know they have an aggregate payout for dealer tips as well?
I did not.
Yeah. So if you're on a game that pays, let's say, 1,000 to 1 and someone tipped you $10, the casino will only pay you a certain amount of money. They won't pay you the full payout for that.
Yeah, that's not right.
Yeah, I was upset too when that happened to me and I was a dealer. The guy was betting $50 for a tip and got a huge hand. So it was going to be, I don't know, $10,000. And they only gave me 100, I think.
Yeah, I really don't like that at all. And I'm sure the casino just kept the difference.
Oh, yeah. You know it. Okay, so our next question comes from Source King. Do you have a strategy on how to use free bets that you get when signing up at sportsbooks?
It depends on the rules to the free bet. Mainly whether or not you get the original bet back. If it wins, you probably are not going to. It's probably going to be you're probably going to get the winnings only, but not get to keep the original bet amount. In which case, my advice is to bet on a long shot, like a big underdog on the money line, or if you can do a parlay a number of things so that you would win, say, at least 10 to 1. And the reason is, mathematically speaking, that how shall I put this? Well, I'll just say that you get the most value out of it if you go for a long shot.
Definitely. Okay, so that was the last question, which is perfect timing because we only have a couple minutes left.
Okay.
When is the next time we're going to see you?
Let's see. How about let's do August 25th.
Beautiful. Same bat time, same bat channel.
Yep.
And if you guys get here early, put your questions in the chat. We are more likely to get to them. If we have a busy, day that day, we might not get to all of the questions the further we get in the show. So just remember that. And Mike, I hope you have a good next couple weeks. Oh, you're going to do that to me. I can't do that. And I always feel so bad. I can't do that. Oh, now you're showing off.
No, this is a good exercise that pianists do.
Really?
To exercise their fingers.
Well, thank you so much for being here. I have a pleasure as always, and I look forward to the next one.
Yep, me too, Heather. Thank you very much. And again, it was nice to see you again. And thank you, Peanut Gallery, for all your questions and participation. And I'll see you in 2 weeks.
Sounds good. And real quick, someone wants to know if maybe next time the trivia could be Star Trek. I have to second that.
Well, can you come up with the list, Heather?
Yes.
Sure.
Yes. Oh, yes. Okay, great. Looking forward to this.
All right.
Everyone have a great day.
Okay, bye everyone.
Live on and prosper.